So, in case you missed it, the FBI has declared war on more than half the American population. How would they do such a thing, you ask? Why would they do such a thing, you ask? Well, because we're all conspiracy theorists, and conspiracy theorists are all one Pizzagate post from shooting up their local Walmart. So says the FBI. I mean, let's read exactly what they say. You probably have encountered this already, but even the smart people are missing some key connections here, so I do have to make a video about this. Basically, the FBI, in a memo that from May from the Phoenix field office, has been leaked for now, for some reason, in their infinite wisdom. The FBI, rather than deny the whole thing is theirs or just deny as they usually do, has taken the express step of saying, well, we would never start such an investigation, without any sort of, such a First Amendment violating investigation without some real probable cause, like the kind of stuff that law enforcement always has before we do our things, because, we like to dot our I's and cross our T's. Well, what none of these videos about this topic seem to be pointing out is that at the same time that this was being leaked and discussed and talked about, baked apart ad nauseum, the FBI was also soliciting requests for software that could preemptively monitor the social media feeds of these domestic terror threats, such as more than half the American population. This is from NextGov. The FBI aims to acquire access to a social media early alerting tool that will help insiders proactively and reactively monitor how terrorist groups, foreign intelligence services, criminal organizations, and other domestic threats use networking platforms to further their illegal efforts, according to a request for proposal amended this week. With increased use of social media platforms by subject to current FBI investigations and individuals that pose a threat to the United States, it's critical to obtain a service which will allow the FBI to identify relevant information from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and other social media platforms in a timely fashion, the agency said. Consequently, the FBI needs near real-time access to a full range of social media exchanges in order to obtain the most current information available in furtherance of its law enforcement and intelligence missions. Well, judging by the intelligence maxim being that if they can do it, they will do it, and if they will do it, they already have done it. We know the FBI has already got this kind of tool. I mean, the Geophedia, I think it's called, Geophedia. The Palantir WikiLeaks documents all revealed this Geophedia thing. All these police departments have access to the Twitter fire hose, quote unquote, basically allowing them to pick apart whoever they need to follow in real time with geolocation data and all other such important things. Well, they want to step this up a notch, and they're using it, and they're using this conspiracy theorists are domestic extremists in training rationale, which has been debunked. There's even, actually, I have to give Huffington Post credit. Even in their article, they did quote this former FBI agent said that basically this idea that people are radicalized by what they read online, and that this will turn little Johnny, the class president, into Jeffrey Dahmer if he reads too many conspiracy theory posts, is completely discredited, but is used to justify the ever-increasing surveillance dragnet that is surrounding our every move on the internet. Completely discredited. Even FBI agents know that this is not true. This is not how it happens. However, they gotta justify their existence somehow, and bureaucracy always makes more of itself. Surveillance always makes more of itself. Police state only moves in one direction. Police state does not dismantle itself. That is not in the nature of the police state. You know this by now. I don't have to explain this to you. However, this proposals from interested vendors are due later this month. So they want to step things up a notch. They need a justification. This document being conveniently leaked provides that justification because, all these domestic, these conspiracy theorists, they're all just domestic terrorists, one step away from transforming into the kind of guy who'll shoot up your local Walmart. Oh, and what's that? A quote-unquote conspiracy theorist shot up the Walmart in El Paso? Well, gee, that's really a coincidence. Now, I don't want to get too deep into this, but it really bothers me when they come out with such completely incredible nonsense. You've got witnesses saying 4 guys came in black and started shooting everyone. And you've got the mayor of the city saying, we've got 3 guys in custody. And then the police chief comes out half an hour later. Oh, no, we've only got 1 guy in custody. Well, what happened to the other dudes, man? I mean, what happened to the dudes witnesses are saying walked in black and started gunning people down? I mean, they aren't even trying anymore. And it's because they just don't think we're paying attention, or they think that we're scared. I mean, yes, this video is probably going to be hidden or removed by YouTube for violating its terms of service regarding not criticizing blatantly false lies being stuffed down the throat of the populace. But hello, YouTube already doesn't let my channel be seen by anybody, so what have I got to lose? Sorry, I can't sit idly by and watch this one go. So, yeah, anyway, getting back to the topic of the FBI as domestic extremism, conspiracy theorist nonsense. Obviously, one man's conspiracy theory is another man's conspiracy fact, and the FBI even acknowledges in its own document that the reason why there's so many conspiracy theorists is because the ruling class basically keeps getting caught with its hands in the cookie jar. Now, obviously, they didn't say it in those exact terms, but they did say that one of the reasons for the growing interest in conspiracy theories is that rich and powerful interests in government keep getting caught doing things they shouldn't do, and collaborating behind closed doors in ways they aren't legally allowed to collaborate, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, the people's suspicions are justified. So that's not the problem. It's not that people are believing fake news and that's turning them into Walmart shooting monsters. But the fact is that the reality is turning them into Walmart shooting monsters. So say the FBI. Now, that is not actually true, as I already pointed out. But the fact is that more than half the country's population does not believe the official government story of the JFK shooting. I mean, you know, bullets don't work like that. More than half the country does not believe the government's official story of 9/11. You know, buildings don't work like that. But most of these people who call bullshit in their own minds do not call bullshit in an outspoken way because they fear retaliation by their peers, they fear ostracism, they fear being targeted as a conspiracy theorist. The word, very pejorative label, conspiracy theorist, was devised by the CIA after people started calling bullshit on the Warren Commission to silence those people, because, you know, you wouldn't want to be a loony conspiracy theorist now, would you? They've already tried to pathologize the term and are doing so further. This document will help. These things all are pieces to a puzzle that you are familiar with if you're watching my channel. This ever-tightening grasp of the hand around our throats is just got one big notch tighter. And this shooting in El Paso is the instigating event for people to really start thinking that, hey, you know, these conspiracy theorists, maybe they really are dangerous. I mean, you know, that guy, his really fake-sounding manifesto, he said some stuff about, like, being replaced by immigrants and stuff, and, like, that's a conspiracy theory. So, like, I don't know if I want to, like, read about these conspiracy theories anymore because they're scary and they might make me start shooting people. Come on, man. I mean, nobody actually thinks like that. However, we're being told that everybody actually thinks like that. So we're not going to call bullshit because we don't want to, you know, nobody wants to be the conspiracy theorist. Again, conspiracy theory is just a conspiracy that has not been proven objectively true by the mass media's standard of proof. It may have been proven objectively true by the laws of physics or by common sense or by any number of other things. But, you know, how Wikipedia is, if reliable sources don't say it, well, then we can't say it's true. The sky might be blue, but if a Huffington Post said that it was green, we have to print that it was green. And don't you be looking out the window and trying to contradict what Huffington Post said, because that's original research and that's wrong. I mean, the whole idea is that all of these conspiracy theorists are ticking time bombs waiting to go off, and if the FBI doesn't step in and do something, well, gosh golly gee, the next time you go out to Walmart, you could end up going home in a body bag. And I'm not making light of this Walmart incident at all. I think it's really horrifying that our government is so willing to sacrifice its own citizens in order to further its agenda. The fact is that everybody focuses on the Second Amendment after these mass shooting incidents, saying, oh, well, yeah, they're going to try to take away our guns. And while, yes, that is true, they are certainly doing that. And the fact that there was another one less than 24 hours later suggests that the thing has been ratcheted up. The dialectic has been put into overdrive for whatever reason. They feel the need to really, really force this right now. I think because recently was the anniversary of the Sandy Hook shooting, which I guess served as sort of a watershed moment in public opinion as far as like gun control and whether it was really necessary. to have any sort of way of defending ourselves against the encroaching fascist, the encroaching fascist thing, against that boot stomping on our face. Do we really want to be able to defend ourselves, or won't somebody think of the children? Please, won't somebody think of the children? And who thinks of the children all day? Well, that's the FBI. So what I'm trying to say here is that it's not the Second Amendment we need to worry about, it's the First. Yes, we need to worry about the Second Amendment too. I'm not discounting that. Yes, they will try to take away your guns. If you don't have any guns, they'll try to take away your right to eventually get some, because you're gonna need them. Trust me, honey. The First Amendment is now on the chopping block for every time that there's one of these mass shooting incidents. Obviously, some have no government involvement. I'm not even saying that this one necessarily does, although 4 dudes turning into 1 dude who has a really convenient manifesto that just happens to be chock full of ideas that people don't want humans talking about. It's a little bit too on the nose for me, but what do I know? I'm just a conspiracy theorist on YouTube. But basically, they're going to try to get it so that just talking about conspiracy theories is now probable cause for law enforcement surveillance, probably ad infinitum. I mean, I can't imagine how, in their rationale, you were exposed to conspiracy theories once. It's not something that goes away. You can't forget what you just read. So you read some post saying that, maybe Israel is controlling U.S. foreign policy. Well, gosh, golly, that's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. You're a bad person. And now that you've read that, your mind has been irreversibly tainted. So unless, I guess you could be heavily medicated and possibly have that shocked out of your mind, it's unlikely, and we probably need to keep you under surveillance for the rest of your life. That's the rationale we're going to be looking at here. They have the technology to do it, as I already explained. If they can do something, already have done that thing, and they're just trying to get a legal rationale for doing that thing, so that, if it's ever exposed later by a whistleblower who has some iota of conscience, they might have, plausible deniability. Well, we're allowed to do this because terrorism, those terrorists, they're terrifying. Because this document made a big point of saying that it's the first of its kind to come out and say that that conspiracy theorists are a domestic terror threat. I would say nobody's ever really come out and said this before. And it's interesting because the FBI has now 4 categories of domestic extremists that it kind of like sets out for your average law enforcement agency who finds somebody with a bunch of bomb-making materials and feels the need to classify them as one of these easily bagged and tagged specimens before they set them up on whatever plot they no doubt engineered in the first place. Seriously, like 9 out of 10 FBI busts are like sting operations planned by the FBI. But anyway, they have these environmentalist, animal rights extremists, racially motivated extremists, abortion extremists, whether pro or anti, and anti-government extremists, which is the catch-all category. Anti-authoritarian. We don't like people. We can't really trust people who don't like authority, because what's with that? That's weird. Why wouldn't you want to live in a police state? It's so cozy in here, and all of the trains, they run on time. Well, actually they don't, because we live in a collapsing post-capitalist society, but that's neither here nor there. This idea that and anti-government is a pathology that needs to be rooted out and destroyed has a long history in fascist regimes. Stalin infamously had his enemies treated in mental hospitals, for gone in for lobotomies and forced medication, basically doing the same thing. And this idea that conspiracism is a societal ill that has to be rooted out. This goes back to Cass Sunstein, Obama administration kind of thing, and who also, by the way, proposed cognitive infiltration of conspiracy groups in order to discredit and smear them and get them to subscribe to stupid ideas that could then be used to discredit them, which is where this whole PCB thing comes in. That was very clearly designed as a red herring to distract anybody who might be, poking and prodding into these Jeffrey Epstein type actual elite pedophile rings, which obviously they don't want exposed because, if it comes out that the FBI was just letting these uh, children be exploited under their nose for decades at a time, then they don't really look good. And it's really funny that the FBI is now declaring war on more than half the American populace because, I mean, the trust ratings of the FBI are in the toilet. And really, there's more of us than there are of the FBI. So shouldn't they be the ones that are in the doghouse and being held up as, these people are actually really threats for our way of life, and we really need to curtail their influence before they spread and hurt somebody. The FBI is trying to say that it's because of social media. Everybody can read about these conspiracy things. We used to be able to marginalize people really quickly, but now, with social media, they get out all over the place. Dude, you're beating a dead horse. YouTube has already marginalized anybody who talks of anything that's remotely different from a government narrative. Yeah, when you've got the FBI basically admitting that it's not that the conspiracy theories are wrong, it's that they're right. And nobody trusts us anymore because we're not trustworthy people. This is a problem. We have to put these up. And notice that their solution isn't like, let's be more trustworthy or let's stop raping kids or something. It's let's stop people from talking about us raping kids. Well, no, that's not how it works, dude. I mean, seriously, keep in your goddamn pants. Disgusting. Seriously, fucking disgusting. One key assumption driving these assessments that half the American population is actually a terrorist in waiting is that certain conspiracy theory narratives tacitly support a legitimized violent action. The FBI also assumes some but not all individuals or domestic extremists who hold such beliefs will act on them. The FBI assesses these conspiracy theories very likely will emerge, spread, and evolve in the modern information marketplace, occasionally driving both groups and individual extremists to carry out criminal or violent acts. Indicators that may lead to revised judgment or cause a change in the confidence level associated with this assessment include a lack of conspiracy theory-driven criminal or violent activity in the near long term, or significant efforts by major social media companies and websites to remove, regulate, or counter potentially harmful conspiratorial content. That's the other end game we've got here, is that they want to make it so you can't talk about this shit at all. And that's what I mean by beating a dead horse. YouTube already marginalizes the hell out of this stuff. Every other social media platform marginalizes the hell out of anything that remotely reeks of conspiracy theory. I mean, YouTube even says, well, it doesn't break our policies, but it's borderline. And so we have to throw up all kinds of Wikipedia disclaimers saying, well, yeah, the sky actually is green. You might look out your window and see that it's blue, but don't believe your eyes. Believe us. We're much more trustworthy than those silly things you call eyes. I mean, seriously, are those really your eyes? Or did you just pick them up off the street? I mean, come on, you can do better. Let us be your eyes. It's not a mind control thing like we want to direct your thoughts in a particular direction. It's getting inside there and making you think these things are your thoughts that are not actually your thoughts. They are imposed from without. And it's very scary because we didn't let these people into our heads. Anyway, the whole point of this El Paso thing is that this document is saying that, these conspiracy theories, they motivate people to act in a very specific time and place, and that elevates it one step above just the general bullshitting people talking about whatever being replaced by immigrants from X country that we don't like, et cetera, et cetera. And so this was. Now you're going to see people can't talk about worrying about immigrants or even automation anymore. If you're worried about your job being taken by either unskilled immigrants or their skilled children or their skilled children's robots, you're now no longer allowed to say it because that now associates you with a mass murderer. So and the second connection that nobody is making for some reason, which I can't really imagine why, is that the Five Eyes, the US, UK, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, just got done with their latest little conclave in London, in which they bemoaned the sorry state of the fact that there still are encrypted messaging platforms, because, we would really like to get behind that encryption, and it's really pissing us off that our governments are not letting us do this. I mean, Australia is making progress with their counter encryption bill, but in the US, they still can't get through encryption, supposedly. I mean, Facebook now, of course, has volunteered that it's going to start letting WhatsApp messages be scanned by an AI sensor, basically, before they are encrypted and sent out, which, I'm sorry, if you were using an encrypted messaging platform owned by Facebook, you're a chump, and I'm not really sorry that you now have to switch to something real. But that's beside the point. Anyway, so the Five Eyes are all in panties in a bunch because they still can't get through encryption, because that's the whole point of encryption, is that it's supposed to be unbreakable. And they really want to find a way around that. So there are two ideas that come out of the Five Eyes conference are, well, think of the children and terrorism. So this ties directly in with this FBI domestic extremist thing, is that they want you to think that, oh, well, on these platforms, people are organizing for terrorist purposes, and we really need to be able to see what's going on there. It's the same rationale that the FBI used when it wanted to unlock the the alleged San Bernardino shooters' phones. The ones who had magically shrunk several feet in height after they supposedly killed all those people. Yeah, and they were never able to actually get a court order to unlock those phones because Apple didn't want to do it. But what a lot of people don't remember about that story is that the FBI actually did end up getting into the iPhone using an Israeli company called Celebrite to bypass the encryption entirely. So again, if it's a question of, well, we want to be able to get behind the encryption, but we can't, generally, they're not quite as helpless as they might like to appear. Anyway, this Israeli firm apparently didn't find anything worth talking about because that story was never followed up on for some reason. But this is very definitely leaked at a particular time for a particular reason, as I have outlined already. But just watch this be used as, if not one of these most recent shooters supposedly had an encrypted messaging program, it'll be the next one. Yeah, so although Five Eyes came away from their little conclave of frustration over the continued existence of encryption, basically with the message, tech companies should include mechanisms in the design of their encrypted products and services whereby governments acting with appropriate legal authority, of course, can obtain access to data. These guys said, and appropriate legal authority means because we say so, and access to data means we already are like raping and pillaging every contact that you make with anybody else on this planet, but we want the encrypted ones too because we're greedy. And yeah, ministers stressed that law enforcement agencies would to investigate and prosecute the most serious crimes be hampered if the industry carries out plans to implement end-to-end encryptions without the necessary safeguard. I think they're talking about here Facebook's supposed promises to give Messenger the same encryption capabilities as WhatsApp. Now notice right after this conference, by the way, was when Facebook came out saying, oh, by the way, we're going to give an AI sensor access to whatever messages you send on WhatsApp so that it can it can judge whether those things are worthy of being sent out. We won't break the encryption. Don't worry, your messages are still encrypted. They're still safe. We're just going to look at them first before we encrypt them, before we send them out. So that directly emerged from the Five Eyes conference, and we know this because there was actually a tech roundtable at the Five Eyes conference with representatives from the major technology companies. So it wasn't like this is just a conspiracy theory or coincidence theory or any of these things. No, this actually happened. Facebook was there at the meeting. They came away from this meeting with instructions. They have put those instructions now into play with this. You are now going to have an AI sensor reading all of your WhatsApp messages before deciding if they are appropriate for sending. So yeah, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is established fact, and it's all documented. And also a little ominous statement from William Barr, the Attorney General, hat tip to Nomadic Everyman for this one. He's talking about encryption at this conference before the Five Eyes meetup there. And he says, I think it's prudent to anticipate that a major incident may well occur at any time that will galvanize public opinion on these issues, talking about encryption. So he's saying that, Americans might support people's right to have encryption now. They might even use it themselves, but something could happen any day. Hey, that's an awful nice civil liberty you got there. It'd really be a shame if anything happened to it.